Thanks, Alison Corla. Minister, the government are saying that it is clear that there are lessons to be learned regarding the Children's Hospital overrun and other projects. But are we going to find out what went wrong? Home Minister made the decision to get accountants to check what went wrong with a construction project and how it was procured, rather than getting a construction and procurement firm and a QS team from possibly outside the state. The PwC say we shouldn't re-tender, but can we have the analysis and the proof of that? Robert Watt told us at the PAC that we were given commitments relating to the approximate bill of quantities that underpinned the contract and how accurate they were. He says that they didn't turn out to be accurate, but who gave the commitments? A lot of answers are required, Minister.
Minister. Based on this last night in the Dáil, which you were present in, Deputy, we explained why we commissioned the report from PwC and the work they could do in helping us understand what went wrong in relation to this project. We disagreed on that last night, Deputy. I made the point to you that the PwC report did go through the various things that went wrong and what we could learn from it. It also made the point that the complexity that was involved in this project was very, very significant, and made the point also that the different options that were open to the government at the point in which this issue developed as it did, there was no assurance at all that we could do this any cheaper, and there was no indication at all that we'd be able to do it any more quickly. Now, I know, Deputy, you differ from me in both those views, and you said that last night, and I respect your expertise in this area and your knowledge in this area. But I just want to assure you, on the basis of the work that we did across that period, that the view that I formed, that is that if we had made the decision to retender or to stop the project and where it is, that the difficulties we would be facing now would be even greater.
First supplement, first.
Minister, if we do not get the answers, we are not going to learn the lessons, and we're not getting the answers, and don't seem to be understanding what happened. The PwC report said the understanding of the risk profile associated with the procurement and contracting strategy was poor at all levels of the governance structure. But understanding the risk profile of a specific capital project is the first step. So who didn't understand it and why? The PwC also says the strategy identified that a lack of interest from the market was a primary potential risk to the procurement. So why wasn't a different form of contract looked at? Why wasn't FIDIC used? And you would have attracted in European interest. The Taoiseach said there was a gross underestimate that should have been flagged earlier. But a public benchmarking exercise gives you an advanced estimation of what's going to cost. Why wasn't there one done? Who decided not to do it? Why wasn't Phase 1 a standalone contract? Who made that decision? Was it the advisors McCann Fitzgerald? Was it the executive? Was it the board? The bill of quantity was only based on a preliminary design. Why wasn't it based on a detailed design? Who made that decision, Minister? Oh God, I mean, look at, if McCann Fitzgerald did not ask the right questions, Minister, or if they didn't give the right advice, will their public indemnity be called in?
Okay,
how much have McCann Fitzgerald been paid for their work?
Minister to respond.
You've asked me a series of questions regarding who was involved in particular decisions that happened there. Many of the decisions that you've just read there were made by the board of the National Paediatric Hospital. There was a board there, there was an executive, recommendations were made to the board, and then they made decisions. But what I have certainly tried to do in the debate in relation to this is say, yes, there was a board that was there. There has been change in the board now. Minister Harris has said he'll look to strengthen the board further. But I've always acknowledged in relation to this that as Minister for Public Expenditure, I do have responsibility for how the country's money is spent, particularly in relation to capital projects. And there is a number of recommendations that came through from the PwC report that are particular to me, and I will ensure that they are implemented.
Final supplementary.
You're saying now that the board carry all the responsibility. Were they well advised? Do we know if they were well advised? Was the executive put there in order to control the information going to the board on behalf of the HSE? Did the HSE have too much influence over the project? The procurement strategy used was sure to lead to an unmanageable increase in price. And because of this, we don't know where it's going to end up. Who is responsible for this? Is it the board or is it others? I mean, we shouldn't standardise construction projects and the forms that you use there for them. The contract works management framework, Minister, is not fit for purpose. It's very problematic. And you are wedded to it, and you should change your strategy on it. We need flexibility for bespoke requirements for a particular construction project. The Capital Works Management Framework doesn't give it to you. And Minister, is it possible for me to see the contract, please? I think it would be beneficial, and I can learn from it.
Minister.
Well, I know this question. You put the lateral question to Minister Harris last night, and he's going to check to see, is it possible for you to see the contract? I'm afraid I'm not in a position to answer that question. I don't know if there's any legal issues around that, but he said he will check it. In relation to responsibility, I mean, the board and representatives of the National Paediatric Hospital were in front of the Health Committee in relation to this issue and answered many, many different questions in relation to it. They did have responsibility for certain areas. Minister Harris had responsibility for some particular matters as well, and so did I. And I have been in front of committee, I've been in front of this House on 2 different occasions answering questions in relation to my role in this, most recently last night. And I think it is clear now where responsibility lies. It was laid out in the report that we debated last night. And as Minister Harris said, he's going to look at what he needs to do to further strengthen the board. And I have particular recommendations that have been made of me by the PwC report, which I will implement.
Do you think the consultants involved, Minister, had enough experience in hospital?
Deputy